Hey everybody, it's Ivory from Brook Code,
What's going on, everybody? This is Matt from Brook Code.
and today we are going to talk about things that we wish we would have known in our 20s. And the first series is going to be like a series, a mini series of things that we wish we would have known in our 20s. We're both in our 30s now, and so we want to kind of share a little wisdom from our 30s, the stuff that we learned in our 20s, and kind of give back in that way. So the first episode in this small series, we're going to talk about home ownership. So this is the first one of many, and we're going to just talk about home ownership, share a little bit about my journey with the home ownership, and Matt's going to share a little bit about his and some key takeaways and points. And hopefully that when you watch this video, you can take away, chew the meat and spit out the bones. Whatever don't apply to you, let it fly. But we're just going to get started.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how it kind of came about. So obviously, I got married about a year ago. I think I'm in the process of looking for a house, and it's like, this is cool. It's kind of exciting, but I know me and Ivory had conversations when we were younger, in our mid-20s, whatever. We always are thinking about buying this or almost bought this, and you kind of go through this process. You kind of learn, like, man, if I would have kind of bought this house at 24, it may not have been the ideal house, it may not have been the area I wanted to be in, but I could have bought that, started off, sold that one, made $20,000-$30,000 and use that for the down payment. So we just kind of these little things that we kind of learned, like, man, like we putting too much pressure on ourselves when we were younger. And that's kind of how this kind of conversation came about.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And just to give it like a little background history. So for the most part, in my 20s, I had instability. There was no stable housing situation for me. Coming from college, leaving college, I lived in apartments. I lived with my parents. And from that point on, eventually, I moved out, had my own places from time to time, but it was nothing really stable. It wasn't I didn't have a stable background, stable in my 20s. And that's something that I knew was going to be critical for me, was to have like stable housing and a stable, what I call like a headquarters, so you can run your administration. So I really never really got that in my 20s. And I don't blame anybody other than myself. It's not even nothing to blame, but I just think that things that I wish I would have known now, I would have did a lot differently. So what about you, Matt? What's in your when you were in your 20s? Like, talk a little bit about your housing situation.
Yeah, I came back home after college, like a lot of people did, just tried to figure things out. And, sometimes you so focused on just branching out, just I had to get my own place, to get your own apartment. So you don't really think about it, as much. So it's like, I grew up in a house, whatever, like that, apartments when I was younger, in a house. But you just kind of just, I didn't have, so you're trying to establish your own stability, away. And it's like you don't really have the thought process, what I'm saying, without the right guidance, right? Because some people will go back home, they not leaving, like they kind of like, I'm not leaving home until I save up for a house. I don't care if I got a house in an area that most people wouldn't live in. I got a house. So I think it's just kind of those kind of things that I think about, man. So, in my journey.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And for you younger guys, if you're younger, you're in your 20s and you just finished college. I mean, you got your first job. You're thinking, hey man, let me get me an apartment, a townhome, or a condo, or something like that. That's cool. That's totally cool, and that's fine. But just know that you're going to be living month to month in an apartment, or a month to month paying rent, and that's totally fine if you want to rent or buy a home. But I would say, and this is just from my experience, that I thought about my first home. I thought about it from I gotta have a dream home. I
Yep.
wanted the dream home. I'm like, man, I knew in my mind, like, yo, what kind of home do I want to have? And I would look on Zillow and Redfin, and I would see these ideal homes that I wanted in the specific cities that I wanted. And I was like, you know what? I'm not settling for anything other than what I want. You know what I mean? And so I found myself in a situation where, like, the ideal house I wanted, I know I didn't have that money, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because a
Yep.
house is a major investment. So I began to just have the delayed gratification and do all these things. But little did I know that, you know what, bro, you can always get a home, you can get a starter home,
Yep.
and then you can work your way up to your dream home. But nobody never really told me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my family, I come from a family where home ownership just does not exist. We
Right.
rented apartments, we rented everything. We just rent. That was like the culture that I grew up from. And so there was no template, there was no blueprint, there was no strategy or no type of pathway, as I say, to home ownership. And so that was like my journey. And that's why I suffered a lot in my 20s with not having that housing stability.
Yeah, no, for me, it's like I grew up in a house. It was always a struggle to keep it. It was always a struggle to keep the house and to keep everything going. And I think to Ivory's point, I think it's absolutely true. I think just getting it out the way. One of the first things, just get what you can afford easily when you're 20s. Just get what you can afford easily. I look back on it, man. We're coming from Detroit, so you know, I came out of college in 2011. So you're talking about a 2011, 2012, 2013 time period. Man, you had co-ops going for $8,900 to go for 89,000 now. You could just save some money up cash, just cash out on one of them co-ops. Houses. Because I think for me, I was looking at homes in Sherwood Forest, Roselle Park. Even at that time, they might have been like 70, 80, but it was just me. And at the time, my girlfriend was my first wife, man. At that time, man, you just really needed a small little place. I could have given something a lot smaller. So one of the things I wish I would have done, like one of the pieces of advice that I would tell people, like, to get you a small starter home. It could be a 2-bedroom home, small little ranch, nothing fancy. You can get you a 1-bedroom condo. That's
Yeah.
easy, a 1-bedroom condo. You mess around, you leave it out, you rent it out. I would have did those kind of things because people might criticize it because it doesn't look a certain way. But guess what, man? A lot of people in their 20s ain't really buying nothing. So it's kind of like, and this is the way the game works sometimes. When you buy a house, say you buy a house for 80,000, you have it for a few years. So you pay it down a little bit, have it for a few years. So maybe it's $70,000 on the mortgage. Now that house is going for 100,000. Now you sell it, you got 30,000. What's the down payment for your next house? It's based on that starter home you just got. So now they're like, oh, where'd you get the $30,000 for this down payment? I got it from the house I stole. It's like, that's something I realized. Just actually just understand and just get what you can easily afford in your 20s.
Yep. Yep. And what Matt means by get what you can easily afford, I'm a financial guy and I crush the numbers and things. I would say no more than 30% of your take home pay. So for easy math, let's say you're making I don't know, $5,000 a month. You don't want to take no more than 25% of that 5,000. I don't know the math on that right now. I should know the math on that, but yeah. Find the math on that real quick for me, Matt, if you can. But
1,000.
how much is it?
1,000.
Yeah. Okay. So again, let's go through this example again. You got take home pay $5,000. You make $5,000 a month. You don't want to take no more than 30% of that your income. That would be
Oh,
what is it?
30%. 30% of that.
Yeah.
30% would be 1,500.
Yeah, 1,500. So just keep your mortgage under 1,500 in that example, and you're going to be fine. 30% of your income, that's how much you're going to pay for rent in most cases. So just keep that in mind too. That's going to help you keep that stress off you because when you're in your 20s, you're trying to get established, you're trying to get your career established, you're trying to get like a name for yourself, you're building your credentials, you're building your experience. You don't want to keep building on debt because more than likely you probably got student loans that you got to pay back, you got a car note you got to pay back, maybe some credit card debt. So you want to really kind of have something that you really can afford, like Matt was saying. And to put a hard number on that, I say 30% of your, no more than 30% of your income.
Yeah, and then it's a few things I would say too. Like, I mean, just one of the things that I notice a lot is that you never really know what's going to really happen. So you may say, okay, you know what, I'm renting right now. I looked up 1 year, I had spent $54,000, not in 1 year, but over a period of time, $54,000 in rent. And the problem with that is that, you may think that you're gonna make all this money in your 30s. Something may happen. So you say, I'm gonna buy a house when I'm 32, 33. You might end up having a kid, get married. Like there's the longer you wait to even just get in the game and buy something, the more your life just gets more complicated, like especially if you're a single guy, it's different, a single woman, something, but you get married, you settle down, your wife may want to have kids. Now you need a 4-bedroom house. So
Right.
things get a lot more complicated, right? Versus, and then two, just having some skin in the game. And to be honest, man, we had a lot of missed opportunities, man. Missed opportunities. And I'm in Rosedale Park. Homes are going for like 60, 70,000, man. They're going for like 190. Man, that would have been easy to afford that, man. Sherwood Forest, which is a hot, nice area in the city of Detroit. Those homes going for 300,000, 400,000. They were going for like 150. This is
Yeah, bro. I remember that, bro. And to piggyback on that story, I remember it was probably like 2013, 2014. And this is when the city of Detroit was going through bankruptcy. So everything was for sale. Everything in Detroit was for sale. Everything. Everybody was just trying to get rid of as much as they could. And I saw like a really nice loft. I love lofts. That's just my style. And at the time, the girlfriend that I was dating, she owned a couple properties, and she had properties or whatever. And she was like trying to encourage me to buy a home. And she was like, why don't you just buy a home? Things are going cheap here in Detroit. And I just didn't have the confidence, nor did I have I was being led by fear, right? So she come from a different background, a different upbringing, where it was normal for them to own property, own businesses, and things like that. But a guy like me coming from the inner city of Detroit, we rented. I mean, it was strugglenomics for us. So I really didn't see a model where it's like, okay, how do you, or pathway? I like to say pathway. I didn't see a pathway to home ownership. And so I saw a nice loft. It was in the prime area of Detroit, and it was like $30,000, just $30,000. And I cry. It makes me cry a lot, Matt. And it makes me cry so much because I think about it. I drive by that place all the time, and I look at it, and then I look on like Redfin or Zillow or whatever, and it was 30,000, but now it's going for like $200,000 right now. Like,
let me say,
it's crazy.
Quick, because this anybody who's been to Detroit from Detroit, so the property he's talking about is right off Jefferson. It's actually across from Belle Isle.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's actually across from Belle Isle. So anybody who's from Detroit knows there used to be a Wendy's. I think the Wendy's might still be over there. So it's a Wendy's. Used to be a whatchamacallit, Big Boys down the street, whatever like that. So
Cross street from Belle Isle.
Yeah. So like you said, that property was going for like what, 35,000. You look back at it, I don't know if I want to spend that money. But it's like, yeah. So it's funny. I was actually in that area maybe like a week ago, man. I was like, man, those condos kind of nice. And back then you had $30,000 cash, you know what I'm saying, or the ability to get access to $30,000 cash some kind of way. You could have had that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a crazy time, and it's like, and I think like to your point, we didn't even think to say, let's just get in right now, let's get what we can. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, because it's like, I didn't even think about it like this, kind of like you were saying, Ivory. It's like, just thinking about it like, hey, I'm gonna have this, I may hold on to it for a few years and just sell it and get the extra money and live in it. It's like, you didn't even think about it like that,
Nope. I didn't even think about it. I didn't know anything about credit. I didn't know about leverage. I didn't know anything about any of those things. I just knew I had a dream. I just wanted a home, right? But nobody never told me the process, whatever. So I would say another thing is really key and is important to finding something that you can afford is to really protect your credit. Now, I say this because again, I'm a financial guy, and I've helped thousands of people with their personal financial situation. And one of the things I've noticed is credit that can actually stop you, like just having bad credit. You got charge-offs, collections, bankruptcies, all kinds of things on your credit. So in your 20s, this is where you can get caught up the most because everybody's trying to sell you something. Everybody's trying to give you something. Hey man, don't worry about this. No money down. Hey, just take this and take it home. Or you at school and they trying to push more student loans on you, push credit cards on you. But you got to think about this. When you graduate from college, you're expected to find a job. Now we're in a pandemic and we're in a different time right now. So you don't want to leverage or mortgage your future so much. And what I mean by that is that putting everything on credit now just so you can survive today. So I would highly just encourage you to protect your credit at all costs and keep that down as much as you can. Keep your expenses down as much as you possibly can.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. And one thing I would add on too is that when you buy a house, this is something that people don't really understand. Like I'll be completely honest. Even though I talk about the homes in Sherwood Forest, those are pretty big homes. Those 4 or 5 bedroom. I mean, even if I could have got it, like I don't think it would have been a good thing for me. Because this is the thing. When you own a home, there's a whole other process. Think about it. You got to think about it like this. Okay. If you have a kitchen, you're gonna have to get that kitchen remodeled every 10 plus years. So if you start off with something affordable, something small, you learn the process. Like, oh man, the roof leak. Let me hit up this company. Oh, okay, wow. I need to get my plumbing fixed. So you learn how to maintain a house. You learn all the ins and outs. You end up finding the person you contacted to do your floors. You find somebody to come in and do your plumbing, right? So, so for instance, you had a big house. This is the thing, you had a big house, right? And you don't know how that process works. You got to get your kitchen remodeled. You taking that heat lock out. You know what I'm saying? You taking that home equity
Right.
on the credit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
get the floors. Because you never really factored and understood how much it costs to maintain this stuff. Stuff is expensive. The average kitchen remodel is what, $15,000 to $20,000 on the base end. So if you're watching HGTV, you're getting excited, $40,000 to $50,000. So it's like it's also just starting small and learning how this process works. So you got a small kitchen, you get a remodel, it's 5,000. You learn, and then too, you might actually do some of the stuff yourself because it's a small house. You might do painting yourself, especially in your younger years. You get older, in your 30s, man, you're like, man, I'm gonna pay somebody to do this. But in your 20s, you're more likely to paint everything, get your hands in it a little bit. You might do your own landscaping. So you learn how to do all those things. You just learn how to maintain it. So it's like you learn, like, you get something you easily afford. What I'm saying, you get your credit straight, and then on the third end, you can on the third end, like, you really can learn how to maintain it. And then to your point about credit, you don't really understand how, like, the house is the most expensive thing. So if you 23, 24, you go through a process of buying a house, it's gonna be a slap in your face of how it all works in terms of credit. Because it's gonna be probably the most expensive thing you ever buy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. No doubt about that. And you're absolutely right about that, Matt. And I wish, and I'm sure you can agree with this. It's you have somebody where you can model after them. Like I always say this: if like find somebody who has what you want, somebody successful that has what you want. It don't have to be multiple people, just one person that's successful at what you want and model them. Now, in my world, we call that funnel hacking. But basically, the whole ideal is to find somebody that's successful in what you want, find out what they're doing, and model yourself after them. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for instance, you have a family member or a friend or somebody in your network, and we'll talk about this in future lessons about networking, like how to get on LinkedIn and making sure you build a professional network. We'll talk about that, but let's just say, for instance, you find somebody in your network that just bought a home. Maybe they just bought a home and it's a nice home and they put it on Instagram and say, hey, we just got our first home. Cool. I would say reach out to that person and ask them, how did they do it? Like, hey, man, can I take you out to lunch? I see you just got your first home, or I see you just bought a home that looks really pretty cool, and ask them questions. Get a notepad, pen, or whatever, take your iPad, take them out to lunch and just ask questions like, how did you do that, man? How did you, from step A to step Z, how did you be able to purchase that home? And then you just model yourself after that and get the same result. So I call that funnel hacking, but it could be house hacking too. So that's just something that to just keep in mind.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I agree with you. Like you said, just find somebody who went through that process. Somebody that they, because like you're right. You see somebody that have a really nice home. They might say, hey, we started off, on 7 Mile. We're from Detroit, so we our first house we bought in 7 Mile in '95. We were there for 8 years. We had another kid. We decided to move further out. So I mean, that's just one of the things. It's like, and it's a progression. So to be honest, it's like, I look at it now, like I said, we're coming from the Detroit area. So now when I was younger, I would have bought a house and I could have got an affordable house in certain parts of Detroit. I could have got an affordable house in like a Westland area, just areas where the housing price would have been a little bit less, especially, and then also when you're younger like that and you don't have kids yet, you don't have to worry about school systems. So you can take a bigger risk. So you could be in an area where like you could be in an area where you can kind of say, hey, I could buy this house that's affordable. You can also do all random stuff too. If you kind of somebody who's a little bit more open, you can get a trailer. You know what I'm saying? You get a mobile home, pay 30, 40,000. You can say, hey, I'm about to go live I'm about to be living in the city. I got a 1-bedroom condo. Just watch out for the HOA fee, but I got a 1-bedroom condo. It's just me. I'm cool. I bought me a little studio. So it's like you can take those kind of risks, and then you can have really unique experiences at a affordable price. Because, for instance, like right now, I would really love to buy a loft. If it was up to me, I'd buy a loft. But buying a 3-bedroom loft, by the time you add on HOA fees in Michigan, you're paying $3,000 or $4,000, right? So it's like those things just cost so much more. But you can do a lot of that stuff when you're younger on a
Yeah.
small scale.
Yeah, no, you're right. And my office is a loft. It's just a big loft, and I love it. I love the design. I love lofts, man. I feel like I'm at home when I'm in a loft. So, no, you're right about that, Matt. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't talk about is just the fear of buying a home because it's such a big thing and it's a process. It's like, wow, man, I'm about to buy a home. And it's kind of like going off to college when you leave from high school. You
Mm.
know, maybe your parents were taking you to school. Maybe everybody was checking up on you. You had a guidance counselor. But when you got to college, ain't nobody checking for you like that. You know what I mean? You are responsible for getting the work done, reading the syllabus, going to class. Ain't nobody checking for you. So it's just like buying a home versus renting. When you rent a house or apartment or condo or townhome or loft, you don't have to worry about maintenance and you don't have to worry about like cutting the grass and things like that unless you got a HOA fee. But in most cases, if you're talking about buying a home, you have to think about like what if the roof breaks, leaks, or who's going to maintain the yard, things like that. So I would suggest as well is to pay attention to those hidden fees as well. So really take a look at hidden fees. The furnace goes out, the garage door stops working. Like you have to have emergency savings. I'm not going to say like you need 3 to 6 months, but that would be ideal. But I know how hard that is in the pandemic in your 20s to try to build that much money up. But I would say at least have a thousand or 2,000 set aside specifically for an emergency. So that way, if something do go wrong, you won't skip a beat. You still can keep going on with your day-to-day life and you don't have to use the credit card and find yourself even in more debt. So that's just something I would add as well.
Yeah, yeah, and then also don't be phased, man, because you have somebody who got a bomb apartment downtown, right? Man, they got great views. Like, man, this is great. And you're like, man, I just got this little tiny house, you know.
Yeah.
But it's your house, and you learning the whole process, you know. So it's like, you know, so we also get to that age too, where a lot of people are buying homes, and I say this too, man. You can't worry about what other people's expectations, their, what they think, what they wish they would have got, because it's, at the end of the day, man, you just gotta buy what you can actually comfortably afford in
Mhm.
that moment, because you're gonna sleep a lot better. You're gonna feel better about the situation. And then like Ivy was saying too, like we both made the same mistake. Like we were like, man, you know what? I gotta get this kind of house. I gotta like it's almost like a house became like a status symbol. You know what I'm saying? If a house is a status symbol for you, that's cool. But just get that, what I'm saying, just get, just get what you can afford in that moment. So if you got money and in your 40s, you want to get a house built from scratch with heated sidewalks, go right ahead and do it, man. Go ahead, you know what I'm saying? Go
All right,
ahead.
knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out, man. Knock yourself out, bro. Like, hey, like
Yeah.
Yankee saying, of course.
Right.
Get it, man. You get it. You get it, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and you're right about that because I know we live in a Snapchat, Instagram, filter face world where everybody want to curate their content to make seem like they're living their best lives. So I would say don't get caught up in all that. Just don't worry about trying to model yourself after what you see on social media because a lot of it is fake, and I think you guys know that a lot of it is fake. Just find, like Matt says, find something that you can afford easily under 30%. Like here's some takeaways, right? Find something that you can afford under 30%. Fix your credit, make sure your credit is good. Something that's tangible for a first time home, and also something that you can enjoy. Something that we're not saying get no junk. That's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is that you want to prepare for the next phase of your life because this more than likely this house that you're gonna buy is not your forever home.
Yeah.
So and it's not your forever home. Just like the first relationship you was in, you might have thought that was your forever person, but as we know, as time goes on, from
Yeah.
older gentlemen, statesmen like gentlemen,
Yeah.
it may not be your last relationship. So this house may not be your last house. So, but you can learn the lessons that you need to learn, take that, and then get the new house, the next house. So your
Yeah.
first house don't have to be the dope house, but just make sure you lay that right foundation.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. Like I think one of the things that it helps you is get something you can afford when you're in your 20s is that it keeps you from hurting yourself on the back end. So what I mean by that, like, you become 38, you buy your first home, you want everything. you know, you getting your house built to a spec. You want the granite countertop.
All the bells and whistles.
You want all the bells and whistles. Man, you want the jacuzzi. So you're getting all these different things. You add it on, add it on. You know, and then now you're looking up like, man, this house is so expensive. This house is so expensive. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like, versus you had the experience, you're gonna kind of know a little bit better. So I think the thing about it is that I think a lot of people, I've seen this a lot, they buy their first home, they get unnecessary things. You know, they get unnecessary things that they really don't need, or they got the granite countertops, but you know, they look outside their window, their neighbor out there barbecuing with his thumbs up because they know, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Fixing a flat tire out
Yeah,
on the front porch, huh?
I was talking to my mentor with us. He's bought a house, but he saw how close the houses were, man. You know what I'm saying? He was like, man, he was like, the house is so close. You know what I'm saying? They looking at the window. I was like, hey man, is everything okay with Jack? I saw him stumbling across the living room, whatever. Like you know, you
No
see
privacy.
so
No
close.
privacy.
No, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like so, it's like so now you become more susceptible to those things because you know because now you man, I've been holding this off for 20 years, man. I gotta get everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So then you become a less informed buyer, you know, because you've never really been through the process. You're getting, you know, so it's like, you know, so I think it's important just to kind of go through the process, get some of that stuff out your system in your 20s, learn how this stuff works, you know, and I think you come out, you know, a little bit better on a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say my last thing here before we leave, and Matt, you can chime in on your last thing. I would just say enjoy the process and document the process. Enjoy it. Like take plenty of pictures, take videos, and like enjoy the process, man. Because your 20s to your 30s, it's gonna go by really fast, and you're gonna experience a lot of things that you're like, man, dang, man, where did time go, man? I remember my 20s. I'm a lot more seasoned than what I was back in my 20s. But I really wish one of the things that I really wish I would have known if somebody would have told me, yo, Ivory, enjoy the moment, man. I know you're trying to get your career established. You're trying to get your business going. You're trying to prove yourself into the world. You're trying to be a provider, a leader, a man of God, all these things. But you have to take some time to enjoy the moment. So I wish somebody would have told me that. I didn't do that as much. I was just go, 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 go. But now that I'm in my 30s and I can give back to my brothers and even sisters that's in the 20s, is to enjoy the process, document the process, be happy, enjoy every single moment because it goes by very fast.
Yeah, no, the one thing I would say too is like with buying a house in the 20s, one of the biggest things is just creating stability. You know, because in case if you ever rented before, rent only does one thing, man, that goes up. It goes up. So you renting here for 1,000, now you push the rent up to 1,400. Now you say, man, I don't want to pay 1,400. So now you're trying to find a new place where you could have just been locked into a mortgage, a fixed rate mortgage, and been paying that same thing for 6-7 years, and that gives you the stability. So now you got price stability, you know, and then you got stability. Like this is my house. This is where I'm going to be. And then it allows you to build in your 20s a little bit more because you end up having all these random, you know, I lived here, I did all these different things, but you never were able to build upon it, you know, because you know, move from here, this place to that place. So just finding something like that just gives you the stability to kind of say, okay, I know what these numbers are going to be for the next 5 or 6 years, and I can go off that.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I hope you guys have found this to be very helpful. Me and Matt, we're going to do more videos like this, more kind of like a series of things that we wish we would have known in our 20s. So this is the first one, home ownership. We don't know what the second one is going to be, but we will post it, and we'll just keep going here and share with you guys, to give back, because I know sometimes it's hard when everybody is just living these fake filtered lives where they're happy all the time and they made all the best decisions in the world. We're going to just be honest and be real with you and real with ourselves and just share what we know. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And if you like this and you like our content, you want to see more content like this, support us. Consider hitting the like button, hitting the share this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and let people know about this content. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Yeah, take care, everybody.